back to the Aliens and Angels podcast. Meet my special guest, Elsa Dillon. Elsa is the mother of 8 children with husband Richard Dillon, and they are a family of 10 experiencers who live on a farm in Byron Bay Hills, Australia. Both Elsa and Richard are international fashion photographers and videographers, shooting celebrities and behind-the-scenes professionals for magazines and advertising for over 3 decades. This is the Dillons' second incarnation here on Gaia. They are a family of oversouls, all called in together again to incarnate in this realm. They have experienced over 600 beings to date in many forms and multidimensional realms. With their oversoul connections, they receive messages and happenings with the paranormal. They have been sharing their experiences with others who are ready since Christmas. And today we're going to talk about channeling beings, realm traveling, crossing over, passing through realms, daily spinning alignments, reincarnation, ET contact, beings from all realms, whale encounters, and if we have time, the butterfly effect. Elsa, welcome to Aliens and Angels. It's such a thrill to have you on the show. As I mentioned before the show, I really am excited to talk to you because I have met very few interdimensional beings. So this is really wonderful. And yeah, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. So I thought we could start off maybe today talking a bit about what happened. Did you go from a so-called normal life to boom, all of a sudden having these experiences? How did you discover what was actually going on? Do you want to give us a little bit of your backstory?
So I sort of lived a very, we call it 3D life as a child. Even though I had happenings happen to me. And then I met Richard in 97. And that was the day before I met him, I had a near death. I got electrocuted.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But we can come back to that. That's a good story, that one.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
But so in this time meeting Richard, we started to have interests in feng shui and astrology, and so we just started practicing all these different Reiki. Richard's mother used to do a lot of natural healing, so we took on a few of her things, gardening, and we just kept practicing kinesiology, practicing cleaning up our act. That's what we did.
Mm-hmm.
And then we decided that, the children were going to come, so we wanted to make sure that we didn't have any fears or doubts passed to the children. So we really got into our spoken word, slowing our speech down, and kinesiology probably even more, so that any karmic energies wasn't going to get passed on to the children. Now, back then, I didn't know what it was to be spiritual or spiritual people. I wasn't involved in angels, ETs, aliens, nothing. Excuse me. And we just did it because we wanted the children, our term for it was we just wanted the children to come through as clean skins. We wanted to come through as them. So 10 days after their birth, we would get an astrology reading, and the stars would give us a map, or I used to call it like a treasure map of their essence of their journey, so that it made parenting different for each child rather than how I was brought up, where we were all treated the same. So I found that eased up for me, parenting. And when you have 8 children, you're outnumbered.
Sure are.
So any tricks you can get up your sleeve, you need them. Also, feng shuiing the house kept harmony. So there wasn't a lot of arguing in the family much. Even nowadays, there's not a lot of arguing because we keep adjusting things to suit what's not only going on with us, what's going on with the environment, and what's going on with the soil and rocks beneath us. and the seasons. Then we started healing. So we would start healing through herbs, healing through the metaphysics, so understanding that your body's telling you what's wrong with you, and it's usually nothing physical at all. So after this stage, then it's like we were ready. So then we went through the financial crisis in '08. Everything that we had been building up, because we were, doing the right thing by humans, saving up, having homes for the children, investing our money, blah, blah. So everything got taken away. And that was okay because we all still had our health. So we were, even though it was quite a taking away moment, it was okay because we were all together. Well, we couldn't find anywhere to live where we were living. No one wanted 7 children. So we had to shift up the coast to the most eastern point of Australia, and we shifted to a little farmhouse. Then we found out we had number 8 baby on the way. And then we had our 2 children started getting really sick. And I kept asking the universe, we've shifted up here, we're getting even more healthier, what's going on? And they got sicker and sicker, and this went for probably 6 months, and we couldn't get any help. Like, no one seemed to have an answer. Mm-hmm. We checked every disease. We checked cat scratch disease. I mean, we checked everything. And in this same time frame, our house was getting shorted out electrically, and none of the electricians could work out what was going on. And they kept saying to us, you've got angels around you, you've got ETs, you look like ETs. And we're like, what's with these electricians up here? I thought they were a bit odd. Anyway, in that same time frame, a lot of people were coming up to us and holding our hands in the street, like just strangers. They were coming and giving us gifts in the street. And I kept saying to Richard, this Byron place is really different. And I'd ask other people if it was happening to them, and they said it not like that. And I was like, oh, okay. Then one night the meter box blew up, and I learned about EMF. And I realized that the universe was actually answering my call. They were trying to get my attention. I just wasn't listening. Neither was Richard. And they were assisting us with our children. They were warning us of the power meter box. And that night I learned about angels, ETs, and I learned that they came through water and glass and electricity. And I was like, oh, I think they're trying to tell it. And Rich is like, yeah, they've been trying to talk to us obviously for some time. We just don't get it. 2 weeks later, I start connecting with Neph. And this is the Egyptian realm. And Neph is Nefertiti, whom I didn't know was Nefertiti at the time. And this was through Mirror Talk. And I didn't understand what was going on. Excuse me. This was in 2011. And it was really challenging. I wasn't in any spiritual media groups or social. I wasn't even on social media. So I didn't really have anyone to bounce back and forth with. I just had to work through it. And at that stage, my family thought that maybe I was breastfeeding too much, or the other side of the Gemini was coming out, or they didn't quite know. And then I started realizing it wasn't just me, it was the whole family. Mm-hmm. And we're repeating all parallel timelines are going on. Well, they didn't, in history, they didn't have such a great outcome. So that put me into a bit of fear and depression. So then it started to go within, and I started suppressing it. Well, this doesn't have a great outcome on your body when you suppress things. Mm-hmm. So my teeth started to really regress quite rapidly, and I look like a skeleton. And I realized that I had to speak out. So 5th of June 2020, I went on social media and started meeting a couple of social groups, and I realized that our story, as I slowly leaked it out, was actually starting to assist others and help others feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see their vibration lift. You could see their light in them glow. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. So this went on for a year or two. And then 2022, February 2020, or January, end of January, February 2022, we started seeing that they were going to use the whole alien thing as an agenda
Mm-hmm.
of manipulation. And the kids were like, Mom, they're going to say all these beings that have helped us and healed us and given us so much information. These are our friends. They're going to make them the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Why? You can't. What are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. And I had Dolores Cannon voice come to me, contact the Star Lady. And the Star Lady was Mary Rodwell. And Mary Rodwell's a guru, yeah. And so I contacted Mary, showed her the children's drawings, some of them, and said, look, we're all experiencing, and I just want to share with the people that you meet, or the people that you assist in your sessions, that they're okay. They're not here to harm you, and we've got good outcomes from it. And she was interested, so we met up. And then I also told her about the other realm, and she was like, wow, so this is crossing over a few fields.
Yes, yes.
And she said, I don't know how they're going to take it. And I said, who are going to take it? And she said, well, I have different audiences. I have my ET audience, then I have my angel audience, then I have my spiritual audience. And I went, oh, I didn't know that's how it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I don't know how they're going to run with this, but we'll see what happens. So she started bringing us out in her way with Portal to Ascension and groups like that. And then I went on a couple of shows, and here I am a year later.
Wow.
Doing sessions with people, and having great outcomes and seeing great outcomes in others. And this is Neff's message with myself. Her message was, they've misinterpreted her label. It wasn't the beauty one has come, it's the beauty ones. We see beauty in others, and that's what my profession is as well. I see beauty in others and things and matter, and it's been quite an amazing unfolding.
Wow, it sure is. Now, similar to you, my experiences have been very interdimensional, and even include, I've had one experience with a juvenile whale, which is I'm hoping we can get into before the end of the show. And I actually believe that it's because of our human conditioning. We see things as separate packages, but I see it as being a lot of overlap. And I was very excited, to hear about you and to hear a bit about your experience. I saw your interview with Mary Rodwell. She's an absolute sweetheart. Bless her heart. She's very open and very accepting of our experiences. I haven't had a meeting with her personally, but I have a very high regard for her. So I'm very happy that you came out. And I really feel it was 2017, I got the call that to come out and to start telling people. And before that, quite frankly, even until the last couple of years, I questioned my own sanity. Did you go through some of that as well?
Yeah, well, not only that, I had to drag 9 others through this. And Richard's a great, strong man. And he's like, well, this is all great, what you're telling me, but how are you going to prove it? And I kept saying, prove it to who? I'm just trying to work it out.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, how are you going to prove it to me? I was like, oh, And then I came across Brian Weiss, who is a hypnotherapist, and he does regresses. And so I think I watched like about 15, 20 minutes of him or 10 minutes of him. And I went, I could do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing regress. Well, that took it to a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm.
And once I did the regress, now it was deliberate. And something in the action of it being deliberate. So rather than Neff and I communicating randomly, which we would come through as ghosts or orbs in the beginning, or messages through songs, rather than that, now it became deliberate. So she would come, because everything I seemed to do, she was doing as well in her realm.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened, we noticed, is this started showing us this mirroring effect. And I would have a regress, explain it to the kids over breakfast or something, and just talk lightly like a story and tell them what happened in the regress. And they were like, oh, that's great, Mum. And then it would come out in the news that we had changed, history had changed. And the kids are going, Mum, you've changed history. And I said, I didn't change history. And they said, look. And they would show me, and things had changed in history. And I was like, how is this possible? And they're saying that's the shift I had in the family, where they realized Mum wasn't crazy. This was actually happening, the butterfly effect.
Mm-hmm.
And so the family sort of moved that way a little bit more towards as backing me up. And then once that happened, the experiences happened more and more for them. So then you have what we call expansion, or you're lighting others up. You're triggering in others. And so
Yeah,
it's just got bigger and bigger.
I perceived, and I'm just speaking from my own experience, not to take away from yours. I mean, they don't have to be the same or even close. That's totally okay with me. I'm very accepting of everyone's experience, but it's almost like we pass on. I was going to use the term retrovirus, but that's it's like we're like an enzyme. Just by being who we are and speaking our truth, it just somehow energizes other people, and then they start to remember, they start to perceive differently. And I think it's quite a contagious movement. And I'm very excited about that, because I mean, I'm not intentionally going around trying to change people, but people's lives are changed by hearing what we have to say. And it takes courage to come out and tell our experiences. It really does, and I'm totally aware of, when I speak, how crazy it sounds what I'm saying. And yet I'm not going to spend any more time doubting myself, doubting my experience, or doubting anyone else's experience, because I think that our lives are far more magical than what we've been led to believe. And I'm very excited about the whole concept of you reincarnating as a family again, to do the work that needs to be done. To me, it's absolutely, what better thing could you possibly be doing on this earth? How wonderful. And it's like kind of like riding two horses at once, because we have our mundane three-dimensional lives where we still have to clean the toilet bowl and make meals, right? But we have all this fantastic other experiences, and I want that for everybody. I want everyone to have what we have, because it's just so magical, and it really makes life so rewarding and so exciting. I don't know if you would agree with any of that, but
Well, you brought up then a feeling. So when it first started coming through, I didn't want it. I was like, no, this sounds really cheesy.
mm-hmm.
I don't want this. I don't want this. And it's not like you get a choice. You can't go, oh yeah, I'd like that one. I want the pink one or the blue one. It doesn't work like that. And then you say, oh, well, you should manifest and you should create. And I say, yes, but some things are awoken in us that were already like our essence, or our DNA, or our program, or our oversoul. And this is definitely, and it's not just in me, it's each family member is in the same order and the same sex at the same age. How is this possible? So also the interesting story about yourself and my story is that we've been doing it for so long. This isn't a quick awakening. We've been living it for a long time. So it's so grounded in us. It doesn't matter if someone doesn't believe our story. We're like, doesn't worry me.
No, me
You can
neither.
say that, yeah, and then there'll be a butterfly effect 2 minutes after I've spoken to you. So like, it doesn't. The doubt and the fear just dissolve.
I used to ask for proof. I used to ask for signs, and I got them every time. And eventually I just went, this is crazy, Karen. Stop asking for signs. I'm just wasting time and energy. Just get on with what it is I want to do. I never dreamed in a million years I'd have a podcast. All of this has just been such a magical journey, and I love it. I get to meet with people from all over the world with so many amazing experiences and gifts to offer humanity. How just amazing. It's the best job I ever had. So I'm really happy to do it. I'm wondering if you want to, just for those who are listening and watching who are not familiar with the term oversoul, do you want to talk a little bit about that, and maybe a little bit about what interdimensionality is really like, what it means to cross over into other realms, that sort of thing. Excuse me.
So because we've had to learn it ourselves and our children were so young through this process, a lot of the terminologies I've made up. And so Richard always says to me, make sure your terminology doesn't mean something completely different in the spiritual zone. And I said, well, I can only say what has happened. So if my terminology sounds a little weird, it's because I've had to explain it to children that couldn't even speak yet. So we would be very playful with it and ease them through, because these kids are going through this stuff as well. So how do you explain it to a child? Well, you put it in simpler terms, and it actually, by putting it into simpler terms, assisted me. So it was really, for me, I felt. So the going between the realms is odd feeling. It triggers all your senses, which is what I feel is the most important thing of us here on Gaia. With the oversoul, our children started connecting with their oversoul. So they kind of brought it forth. And the oversoul is like the essence of your starseed. And the way we see it is that you can incarnate on many realms, or many so-called planets, or we've all worked out that we've only been here once, and we've checked it so many times. And then, like you, they said, why are you asking us again? Really? Do you need to ask anymore? But so we have realized we've incarnated this time and that time. So whether it's running at the same time, we feel it is. Some people we've found have incarnated here, 20, 30, many times. We've also met the ones we call newbies, who've only incarnated here for once. They're very different people to me too. They're exciting. And so your oversoul comes in, and you could call it your Christ energy, your essence, your flavoring. We believe you come in and you flavor this avatar with the hydrogen ions, the water in it. We believe that the water is the Akashic records. That's what the term we hear people use. We don't use that term much, but we just say it's water intelligence. So the water intelligence carries all the codes from the beginning of Gaia. And we also don't believe much in where, so your hydrogen ions carry the intelligence, and then your flavor comes in. So it's like, we call it the sauce. So the sauce comes in and flavors my avatar, and then it flavors Richard's avatar, and then the children. And so each avatar has a different flavor because they've had different starseed journeys. Like, just because they've only incarnated once here on Gaia doesn't, they've had very different galactic happenings. So the way they showed us is Richard's oversoul, he's part of a group, and he called us in. So he called us, each family member, together, and then he called us in again.
I was going to ask you that, whether you initiated contact, or whether, and I'm going to use the term they very loosely because often they is also us, contacted you, and for me, I was definitely a willing participant, but I feel the way I've experienced it in the 3D is that I was contacted by the different beings. And I call them ET and angelic, but you know what? I'm filtering an experience that defies language through my own consciousness as a three-dimensional being. And I'm trying to find words that I can share my message and my experience with other people best I can. How accurate it is would depend on who you're talking to as to what exactly I'm talking about. But I think also, I'm just saying the way it feels to me is that I am much more than what I perceive myself to be as a human on Earth today. And I exist in many different realms all at the same time. And it really comes through for me. So I've had help with things like what to eat and shucking off all the programming that wasn't me, the addictions, like all kinds of things has all come from the training I've received. Somehow, I used to think it was God, but then my interpretation, understanding of God changed very drastically. Excuse me. And I don't know if you can relate to any of that in your experience.
I love hearing your voice. I said before the interview started, it felt like coming home, and it's so nice to hear someone else speak similar, because it's been a long journey to hear.
It is, and it's very socially isolating. Like I've had people tell me they don't want anything to do with me just because it makes them feel really uncomfortable, which I think in a way is a good thing. But I'm okay with my own company, and I'm connected to realms and beings. I'm never alone. I never have the perception of being alone. So it's really a wonderful way to live. And like I've said before, I wish everybody could have a chance to do this. And I also think that I'm not unique or special in any way. I think we could all have it if we just relaxed and let ourselves be more than what we've told we're capable of.
Yeah. Well, we've been shown this last year that we call it the matrix, the mother's being tricked. And one thing we've been assisting people with is returning to their placenta, their place of entry, their placebo effect. So where the belief system started, because the way they've created these last, quite a few decades is by the child coming out wanting to please the mother, but the mother's carrying all the belief systems, as I was. And these are programmed in us over multiple realms. And now we have to gradually, not in so much in us because we've been doing it for a while, but others have to, they're fragile. They have to go down, they have to ascend down to their placenta and undo all the goop, and then reascend in themselves. And they're having to do it in a short space of time. So I'm so grateful that I've had decades to do this, because I see people awakening like in a week, and I don't know how they're doing it, because I
A
look at,
rocky ride.
and
Yeah.
how tough it would be on their atoms in their body, literally. So I'm very grateful how it happened for me, because but they obviously their essence and their oversoul is designed for it. There's no right or wrong way. So there's no right or wrong way. It's just how you choose. And there's something in that will, in that essence, in how you choose. There's great intelligence in it, and they, whoever they are watching how we choose it, because we've come here to have a human experience and forget to reincarnate or remember, literally become members again. And they're watching how we do it, because this interests them. Because they have never had to do this. They've known it from day one. And they haven't had this experience of not remembering who they are. So they look at it and in an interest way, and I really do believe that there'll come a day when we will all remember, like you said, they'll all remember, and then this moment will be lost. So even though it feels sticky and icky, and it's a real pivotal point and bit of a separation at the moment, they'll almost miss this stage that we're going through now, because it will be gone. And I've only just started looking at it like that, rather than going, oh, when's it going to change? When are they going to wake up? When are this? And whereas now I'm going, no, I'm going to savor it now, because it will be gone. It will shift.
Yep. And
you
I
get
also,
that too, yeah?
yeah, and I also feel that it's all sacred. All of it, every bit is sacred. And I think probably one of my biggest weaknesses or flaws in all of this is impatience, practicing patience. I practice every single day, and I'm definitely making progress, and I'm finally getting to the part where I'm starting to really relax with it. And I'm also getting to the point where I'm able to start listening to my body. What a great teacher this physical temple. I call it a temple because it holds, the sacred energies, and to learn from it. And what wisdom. I mean, you've been through childbirth 8 times. I've only been through twice, but there we see the great power of the physical body. It knows what to do. It's so wise. And I find that in a lot of the modern spiritual beliefs, people refer to their body as being a meat wagon or a meat suit, and I think it has an intelligence itself. And as you mentioned, it carries the water, and the water, to me, is there are some sacred scriptures that refer to water as being an angel. That it has its own intelligence. I don't know if you're familiar with Veda Austin. I believe she's also in Australia. She's done a lot of work with water, just exposing water, revealing the intelligence in water. She's a very interesting person too. But sorry, I don't know where I was going with all of this.
Well, we've had January, February, and I have heard of Veda. I love her name. It's a beautiful name, and I have seen some of her works, and they're stunning. And Dr. Imato, yeah,
yes,
so he's proved things for me. So water speaks to each other. So your water ions and my water ions are now engaging, and what happens when you meet someone else is, especially someone that is aligned with you and spinning at the same frequency at that moment, is you raise up together, but you also lift others in a big way when you two come together. If one is spinning and this one's a little bit like ill words said to it, like in his pictures of water. So you have water that's got I love you, and then water that said I hate you. If this one's spinning like that I hate you one, these ions will trigger those ions in them, and they will be attracted for a bit, and then they will spin out. Because there's other things going on in them that don't want that spin to happen.
Yeah, there's kind of an incongruency going on.
Yeah, it's like an inner battle.
I've noticed about people who spin in a similar, I'm going to say, vibratory state, is that we exponentially elevate each other in ways we never dreamed possible. You and I will quite likely walk away from this interview and have some amazing things happen. It's so great. And in a world that's so topsy-turvy right now, what a relief, what a comfort to know what we know and to be able to do what we do. I was going to ask you too, if you do anything specific to make contact, or is it sort of a spontaneous thing now that happens where you make where the contact just sort of happens when it needs to happen at the right time, and it's just very automatic? Or do you do a ritual, or is there anything specific?
So we'll have days where so the little girls will go swimming in the creek, and when they go underwater, they hear siren beings. There's freshwater sirens and saltwater, and they will go down, and there's all different ones, different like us. And some will say to them, do this. Some will just play with them in the water. And you can see our girls dancing in the water with them. It's amazing to watch. A lot of the time they will, they know that they're little girls, and they will ask them to do something, and they will show them something in the water, and they will come up with these huge geodes or pyrite or crystals. So they know they're little girls. They know they like shiny things. So they give them something. And they say, here's a gift. Go speak with mom. And so the girls share that information. And then we realize that some land might need healing, or waterways. And they'll tell me of these locations I've never heard of. And so we go and do something. But all we do sometimes is just go and stand there. And that's enough. That's enough. It doesn't have to be this big thing. And a lot of it I don't really understand. Like Richard will say, why are we going there? And I say, I don't know. Because we need
to.
Yeah. The only reason I know we're going there is because we've had a calling. And that allowing of the calling, within seconds of us doing it, we usually have the white car people turn up, and it's either one.
Explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the white car people they always look like kind of government workers, and they're always in an alphabet company. So it's always this funny alphabet business called Zyco or Telco, or they just got these not really business names you've heard of, but you can tell. And they have a way about them. Sometimes they turn up and they're like indigenous types. We've had like New Zealander type Maoris turn up, and then the blue-eyed ones. And usually it'll be one car or three. And they just present in seconds after we've done something. And at first it was really challenging, because I thought, well, maybe you felt like you were doing something wrong. And we could be out in the middle of nowhere, driven for hours, never seen a car. And then all of a sudden we've done a clearing or grounding or just stood there, and this car turns up instantly. And now we look at it as a confirmation of the universe. And generally these people are very kind, and they just want to hear my voice and Richard's. It's very interesting. And sometimes they just want you just go like a nod, like, hello, how are you? And have eye contact. And so a lot of the kids call them the three wise men. Here they are. Here they are. And sometimes it's one or three. It's very rarely is it two. It's always one or three. But at first, this was very scary. But now we just go, oh, there they are. Sometimes it could be a plane. It doesn't always have to be a car, but the car seems to be an easy way for the human to see it. A lot of the time they present things in an easy way. That's what happens. So we'll do a grounding and clearing. And like you said, after us meeting today, something will happen. That's exactly what happens. There's a shift in the universe. We've made acknowledgement and something happens. And so we are like what they would call seers or oracles. We just see it. That's it. That's the difference. The difference with the ones that don't see it is they're just not looking. We are open. We're allowing. We've surrendered to it, and we see it, and then we share it. We share it back out so that others can learn and enlighten.
I agree 100%. The body thrives when it has a mission, and there is no greater mission than to become the change we wish to see in the world. Sometimes, though, we need a little help from consultation and support services. Have you discovered that this world is not what you thought it was? Have recent global events awakened you and leave you feeling unsettled? Do you feel isolated with your not-so-popular newfound beliefs? Would you like to learn to thrive in this new state of awareness? It is a big shock to wake up and find that the old familiar world is gone. And it can be disturbing to go down the various rabbit holes, only to find that the information is difficult to digest, and few people are willing to talk openly about it. You are not a conspiracy theorist. You are awakening, and once you find your way through it, there are many blessings on the other side. My name is Karen Holton, and I offer vital services that may be just what you need, and support for your journey into the weird and wonderful. Check out my Awakening Support and Ascension consultation, created to support individuals with their chosen alternative realities and lifestyles, health and recovery, and spiritual adventures. For more details, check out the various vital services found on my website, and be assured that I have found personal success with every category featured. My website is www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. That's KarenHolton healthcoach.com. It never ceases to amaze me because I don't see myself as having any particular talent or anything like that, or being, in fact, if you knew how many silly things and mistakes I make, and just, I'm a pretty silly person. I'm okay with that. I'm not putting myself down. That's how I see myself. And then I get these emails from people, saying how much I've touched their life and helped them. And it's going to make me cry if I talk about it, because, it's not it's like a lot of people are into this genre for entertainment. This is not entertainment. This is like deeply realm changing work that we're doing. And I think the reason that some of my guides make contact with me and share the information with me that they do is because they know I'll tell everybody. And I don't care what the other people think, or if they judge me or whatever. That's irrelevant. That's not part of the job. The job is just to say and to make it public. And when we do that, it seems to ground something into our reality. And I often think of us as being quantum mechanics. When you want your car fixed, you go to an auto mechanic. Well, we're like mechanics adjusting the quantum. I don't know. Does that make any sense to you?
Oh, First of all, I wish I was there and could just give you the biggest hug. So I agree. And so I've been saying the last few months, they've shown me that we're tuning forks. So a mechanic, right?
Yeah.
Tuning. And so a tuning fork, so you have your left leg and your right leg. Excuse me. And so your left leg is the sort of feminine energies and the right leg is, So we believe the spleen is your true heart, where the decisions are made, the yin and the yang. And this was in history, was the true heart. In Shakespeare, he called it to be good spleened. And we believe they had the cross, the religious cross up here to trick us where the real heart was.
Mm-hmm.
So it was higher. And August last year, the cross really did shift. It dropped back down to become our compass at our placenta, our place of entry, near our belly button. And so you have your left leg and your right leg. And we believe, we call it belly of Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought belly of Eve meant only for like females, because this is where the baby was. And in the last 6 months, I've realized belly of Eve isn't just belly of Eve, it's heaven. This is heaven at the place of entry. Heaven is actually within us.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have the left foot and the right foot. So you have it go left foot, then it goes through heaven, and it comes through onto your right foot. So you see how you're a tuning fork, you're electrical being with ions in you, and it keeps going like this. So we're arcs.
Yes. And I have seen, I'm a big fan of forbidden archaeology and forbidden ancient history, and I watch a lot of it. Some of it's kind of dry, but I really like it. I find it very soothing. But at the nub of many of the different societies that have been throughout history that we know of, that is exactly what you just described, is exactly what they've created in these cathedrals and in this ancient architecture. So they have the male on one side, the female on the other side, and something that sort of looks like the flower of life at the top, or at the top of the two, or they could be spires or whatever in these cathedrals and things. And that's exactly what it's giving us. Here, what you've just said has been shown to me over and over and over again in ancient archaeology and in the old temples and the old cathedrals, over and over and over again. So I would agree with you 100%.
So here we have an example of yourself and myself, our pupils and my pupils teaching each other. And we're confirming that this is crossing over many platforms. This is crossing over ancient texts that you've read.
Mm-hmm.
But I got this information from the blue marble tree, which is a sacred, they call it the Shiva tree, which is the fifth element, which is supreme beings. So I'm getting the information from a tree. How is this possible that it's the same as the text?
We're
I don't know.
Getting it. I think we're all getting it. And throughout all history, I think sacred truth has been blatantly there all along. And those who have eyes of understanding just recognize it. But I think it's everywhere. I've also gotten information from trees too. I mean, I'm a pretty odd cookie as far as the mainstream goes. I don't mind. I love my experiences. I love being connected to trees and whales and all kinds of things. I love it. But I knew exactly what you were talking about when you were describing us being like a tuning fork, and I agree. And this is also the seat of, around the belly button is also the seat of where I get most of my direction, my warnings, my inclinations, my intentions. That's my power, really my power spot. I don't know if you would agree with that, but
this year particularly, I've brought great attention to this because I realized that all the fasting before Easter And over many cultures, this fasting was deliberate so that they knew around the May month is they get galactic information.
Mm-hmm.
So they would prepare for it.
Mm-hmm.
And May is classed as the month of Grand. And so they would get ready for it. Monks, lots of people, some would fast for 50 days prior to this because they wanted their belly to be clean. So when the downloads of all the galactics would come through, they would be prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
They were like you. They embraced it. They were ready for it. They were excited by it. So we have family members waking up. So
Are you okay for time? Do you have a few more minutes?
oh yeah, no, it's well, we don't have a studio. This is just our family home. So it's a little home with a lot of people in it. So
Oh, that's awesome.
I loved how you were saying though. It's how you get the information. Again, I feel home hearing you say it. It's lovely to hear. It's exciting because for a long time, this had doom and gloom world on it, and you've brought children in, and I've brought children in, and you want everyone to feel good. You want everyone to, and so when you meet others similar, it's nice because it's really spreading. It is contagious.
And that it's the true. This is not some wild fantasy, hallucination, wishful thinking. This is the true. I'm at the point now where it's more true than what I see when I walk out into the social reality. I don't actually spend a lot of time in the social reality. I spend a lot of time in solitude, and I have 2 cats, which I love. They're my babies. And I have, trees and plants, and I grow medicinal herbs and things. That's the other thing that I would do, just to backtrack a bit, is in my history, when I was experiencing these things, I always tried to shut it off. And so I would go for medical help, and I'd end up on some kind of psychiatric drugs or something like that. I'm wondering if you mind if we jump to the whole whale thing, because I was really excited and would love to hear what you want to say about the whale encounters. I want to tell you just briefly what happened to me is, and this is when I was going through a huge awakening, and I was having a lot of anxiety, and I had been off and on. I had been on benzodiazepines, which are tranquilizers, for 35 years off and on, and they weren't working for me. And I decided to just quit. And when I just quit, I went through one of the most painful periods of my life. I actually went through my life review. You hear about people going through their life review after they pass. I went through my life review then, where everything I had ever done to other people, I got to experience how it affected them. And it was a very painful, but I had to go through it. Anyway, what happened to me is I had a vision, a very, very vivid vision. I was contacted by a juvenile whale. Now, I lived on Vancouver Island at the time, so there's a lot of whales in the area. I was contacted by a whale. Now, it didn't talk to me or anything, but I saw its eye looking at me, very intensely looking at me, and I knew that it was sharing some kind of consciousness with me to give me the strength to bear up through this very, very traumatizing experience. And it was beautiful. I was connected heart to heart with this juvenile whale. And their brains are much bigger, more complex than ours. We don't even have the mental ability to perceive, to create testing to even find out what they're capable of. So I actually have never told anybody publicly about that until today. Because I know how it sounds, but at the same time, it was very, very real. And this juvenile whale connected with me on a paranormal level and helped me get through one of the toughest times of my life. And I just wanted to know if you want to talk about whale encounters, how does that resonate with you based on your experiences?
First I want to ask, so you only saw one eye. Was it the
Yes.
left or the right? Can you remember?
I don't know, but it was huge, and it was emanating the feelings of love and connection and strength to me.
Wow.
And I perceived it as being a very real three-dimensional juvenile whale that was perhaps in the area, or maybe not. I don't know.
What's interesting is in I think it was 2011, I had a dream. I thought it was a dream. And so we've realized that dreams aren't really dreams anymore. Sometimes these dreams actually can be you like remote viewing. They love that word. Yeah.
Yes.
So, and there's no way to prove a dream either, by the way, as the same with a memory or an idea. So all three can overlap. And when you let them go, they do. This dream I had before I met Neff and before we had that EMF experience, I had a huge whale come up to me on the beach. But mine was an adult whale looking at me with the left eye. And it did the same thing. It blinked, and it was that pupil thing where the pupil comes in and it connects with you, and it's like you know stuff from their vision looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
And we get this with animals all the time when we're out. It's like it's like you download each other. That's what.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you're having it with a juvenile whale, and I'm having it with an adult whale. So I find this really interesting. I might come back to it. So I didn't understand what the whole whale thing, but we had been studying animal speak for decades. So I knew the whale was something great was come, something big. Since meeting the whale, I realized they hold all the water. They can hold the water intelligence. They hold great intelligence. I've also realized that they were the first beings here, and we call them the setter beings. And we call them setter beings because they have asked us not to call them whales, because whales is their pain name. And I get that because we've all had pain, so I get that. And they asked us to refer to them as set A beings. They're the set A. And then they started showing me how it's not just set A, it's actually Set of one of the Egyptian gods. And they've showed me how it's all connected. The whales, so our family are fish for food for our family, and they're great fishermen, and we go out in the ocean, and they took me out one day on the ocean. They took my ching-chings, my two little bells, and the family was a bit annoyed because they didn't want to hear it all day. And I spat in the water. We always say either pee or spit in the water to let them know we're here. Anyway, we saw two big adult whales heading north. And so we were between the land, and then we had these two big whales heading north. I said, cut the motor. They're really close. Cut the motor. I want to ching-ching them. I ching-ching them, and they turned and looked at us and started to torpedo us. So both of them stayed on top of the water. Now our boat, I think they're nearly 3 times bigger than our boat, or 4 times. They're big, and there's 2 of them coming at us. And Richard was like, get your life jackets on. Get in the middle of the boat. And he's not usually one to be a panic, but when you hear Richard say that, so they got in the middle of the boat. The 2, Ginger and Gigi, they run up the front of the boat. And we had an electric motor on the front of the boat that at the time was getting repaired. So there was no electric motor in the boat. So these whales who were torpedoing us, and I actually thought that we were not going to make it. I thought we were going to get flipped over because of the speed they were coming at. They came at us like submarines, and then they just gracefully went under the boat, and we were like this far from our fingers, both of them. We have it on video. And from that point on, for some reason, I seem to understand their songs that they sing, and I can feel their frequency. And they've told me of sacred sites on the land. They've told me ancient knowledge. They've told me about stars and the Pleiadians. They've told me about Egypt. And it's a whale. And I had no idea that this could come from whales. So we've had multiple whale, like close encounters. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was my first close encounter. And because we class them as Theta being, and they're great, and they came to us by choice.
Fantastic.
So now if I ever take the ching-chings out, the kids are like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. On my birthday this year, we went out. This was in June, not so long ago. And we went out, and that morning it was really, the whales were they can be quite aggressive, so especially the juvenile ones. And the kids said, don't take mum out. It's too much for her. So we went out in the afternoon, and I asked for ease and grace. We had whales under the boat singing, and it was like they were singing happy birthday to me. It was the most, we didn't see one whale, but they were crazy in the morning. And because I felt that I asked for ease and grace, they just came and sang under the boat. And I'd never heard a whale song in real life like that before. So I felt like,
beautiful.
Wow, a gift. Yeah.
Really beautiful. Yeah, I've always been attracted to them, and also elephants. I don't want to dwell on it too much, but humankind has not been kind to any species, or even the planet herself, the rocks and the soil and the earth. Something has happened in our, I believe, not too distant past that, for lack of a better word, and this is an interesting word too, is created a false matrix that we've been embedded in, and it's not real, and we can step outside of it. And the reason I'm saying that's interesting is because you actually were involved or had some contact with the actual actors who were in the movie The Matrix, which is just interesting how this comes full circle.
Well, this is what's interesting, and we find it interesting, is how things overlap in so many different fields. So they'll overlap with real life things that are happening on the farm to experiences when we go shopping. Then we'll have connections with others overseas, and then we will go and have craft experience or happenings or beings, and it all seems to, sometimes when it's happening, we don't understand it, and that's okay. We're not meant to understand everything, but it all sometimes just dovetails in, and it's alignments. Mm-hmm. It's continual alignments, aligning, and this was one thing I was shown a lot, is the alignments are so fine-tuned. That is magical. It really is magical. And if you can trust and wait for those alignments, and I've heard some great people like Baja and Esther and Eckhart Tolle, trusting, allowing the fear and doubt to release, trusting to that last second. That's how much you believe in it. You trust in it to the last second, and it happens. And I heard you in an interview manifesting, and you said you were praying, and I just went, wow, she's really doing it. She's doing it. And it excited me. It made me feel that this is definitely the new way. Like, it's just a confirmation. This is the new way. This
It
is the
is.
new way. This is the new way.
And we can change everything. And it doesn't have to take years and years. It just, enough of us link up on this, in this, I don't know. Like I said, a lot of what I experienced defies language. But if you want to call it a paranormal reality or whatever, and when enough of us accept that this is the true and the real, it's funny. I don't know what you just did there, but I smell incense and I'm not burning any. Anyway, we can change this world. We can change it instantly. We can change everything. We can bring paradise back to planet Earth, to make Gaia fully alive again. And, for the first time, for a couple of years, I was, in the last 3 years, everything that's been going on, I was challenged a bit in my thinking, and I did get a bit scared. And I'm not scared at all about any of that anymore, because I'm really understanding that there are enough of us that nothing can prevail. This is the true, the real. We can bring about anything we want. And I'm really excited about it.
And it has its own energy force with it. It really is quite, it's a powerful force. And it's in all of us. It just has to be, it's like it has to be respun. That's what we say. We respin things. So a lot of the time they will show me origin words. They'll take me back to the origin words. So they make me go back through time on words.
Yes.
And they show me all the goop on the words. And so words that you're saying or casting, or your belief system or whatever you feel of those words, isn't really what that word started out at. And by understanding the origin of it, releases it somehow, or releases a program in us. And we found this is really healing. This has been a very healing quality.
Yes. And that's been another one of my challenges, besides working on patients, has been being aware of the words I use, and being aware of what I'm actually saying, because what we think those words mean and what they really mean are not the same thing. Especially more recently, words have been, for lack of a better word, weaponized, and they don't mean. And so I was speaking in ways that were negative or harmful, or just so far from accurate, that pulling that back and trying to make my language more true to what I believe and what I experience. So there's lots of challenges, but it's not undoable. It's doable. It's just that it depends where our focus is, and that's been my focus. So that's what I've been doing, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. And I'm quite excited about everything. I'm wondering, we're not exactly out of time, but we are coming close to it. I'm wondering, like to give you some space to say what you want to say, to the viewers and to the listeners and to me. It can be anything you want, but I'd like you to just have a few minutes to say what's on your heart, or what's on your mind, or even just to talk about an experience you've had.
Well, firstly, you said a great word, weapon. And the word weapon is also gift or tool or ore. And the word weapon is sword, the spoken word. And this is your sword. It is a weapon. And through the spoken word is through sharing, and the tale to tell. And through sharing is what the grandfathers and the grandmothers and the mothers would do, or the shopkeepers or the villagers, and they would share. And the more that everyone shares, the more that everyone starts to lift. And this is where the Magi ones, the ones before universities and religion and language, this is where they come. They come from symbols. And you've said this, I think, twice since we've been together, that there's no words for what some of the things you have experienced. It's because they're in symbols. And so I'm sure that's probably how I see a lot of people do light language. The reason they're doing light language is there is no word for what they're talking about. It's galactic, and there isn't a word in our human words that can resemble it. You also said the word, I want to offer a gift. You said patience, and patience has been a big one for me too. And when you said it, I realized the origins of it is pay essence. And pay essence is when you pay something, it's a giver and a gift, receive, gift. It's not just one way. And you just have to, once you've reversed the spin of patience is a giving and receiving of essence. This is what you do. You're giving to your audience your essence. You're sharing with the audience your essence. So maybe the reason patience, that word, is hanging around is because that's actually what you're doing. You're paying forward your essence to others so that they can hear and they can be triggered. So
I would say the same. I would say the same for you too.
Yeah,
You're
patience.
sharing your essence.
Yeah. Well, you've helped me by saying that word, has helped me understand it in me. And this is where you can't explain it. It just comes up. And a lot, some of like these experiences, you can't explain them at the time, but you're not meant to understand it all yet. It's okay. You have to let it sit with you for a while and resonate in you. And it's like your ions have to, we call them ions or IMs. Some religious people call it IM, or your atoms. They have to reshuffle around and adjust. And these are times of rest or meditation or just quiet time or silent, to just be still so that it can adjust in you. Our programs are designed from 9 to 5, go to work. So you have to, you can't make that work in this way. You've got to allow its space to spin in us. And sometimes when these craft come over, the message, sometimes it can make your ear ring or hurt your neck. And it's just that you're not used to their frequency yet. And we found this in January, February this year. They had the comet come past. And the comet is come ET. And in it is plasma and plasma dust, plasma intelligence, hydrogen ions, and they come past us. And we haven't, in these avatars, had this water connection. So the water connection passing us is communicating to everything on Gaia. Not only is it connecting to us, it's connecting to our cars. Cars have water in them, trees, washing machines, everything that has water ions in
everything. Yeah.
And it downloaded everyone, horses, wildlife, and everyone. You could feel everyone change in January, February. And it upgraded us all, but we all had to reset a bit as well, which a lot found challenging. And it's taken a great part of this year to allow that energy upgrade us as well. So we found that really interesting, and they called it E3. E3 is the symbols again. So E3, it's the bookend. And they were showing us it's this year is about, it will feel like separation, but it's a pivotal point of choice and will. And it will be so fine-tuned now that if you tune to this way, it's going to be uncomfortable. And we've really noticed it in others. But if you just allow and let it sit with you, and then keep tuning and tuning, like you said, the quantum. I loved what did you say? The quantum mechanic.
Well, I feel like we are quantum mechanics because we
Yeah.
are just by being and doing what we do and perceiving what we perceive and allowing ourselves to perceive these things. It's actually course correcting reality for everybody and everything.
So it's like course correcting is navigating. So by tuning, you navigate. Tuning, you navigate. So you're fine tuning to come into this alignment. And it's getting closer and closer. These alignments are getting closer and closer. And we were told in astrology back in 97 that these 2 years, 2022, 2023, we would come out into the public. And then after that, the Magi ones would meet, but we weren't meant to meet prior to that because we had to do our works. And it's definitely unfolding this way. And so the stars knew it. The stars knew it before I even understood what the message was. They knew way back.
Yeah, it's an amazing life. It really is. If we just let it, And the other thing I wanted to say earlier, I said that I had, tried to shut it off by going to the medical industry and being on different pharmaceuticals and stuff. The other thing I did, and I'm not making medical recommendations to anybody on this show, I'm just speaking from my own experience, but I've been about 25 years without any kind of synthetic, what they call medicine, pharmaceuticals, over the counter, nothing, for a very long time. And I don't know, I just feel in my case, I'm not making that judgment for anyone else, but in my case, it's really helped me to be more open to this wonderful, magical alternative reality. And sometimes there's a bit of suffering that goes before I make a shift. So I think it's okay to have little bits of suffering. I mean, I wouldn't want to be experiencing hell on earth or anything, but I've just found that the longer I'm away from it, the more I just know. I know what herb to try, or maybe it's just to go and lay down for 20 minutes, like it's amazing. And everything is just gotten better and better. I'm sorry, I don't even know why I brought that up, but
I feel like you've brought it up because we've noticed just in the last few weeks that people are needing a different way of doing it.
I think that's my point too, is that I'm not telling people to not go to the doctor, but I am saying that maybe what they're experiencing is something perfectly natural and even spiritual. And again, there's patience again, rather than just wanting to shut it off so that we can fit into the old 3D. I guess that's what I'm saying as well.
So how we would describe that to our family is you're saying, okay, the way you dissolve the matrix is by giving attention to the pain, but giving it this healing practice instead of the old way, and giving it an opportunity to show you. And by you enlightening others and showing them this opportunity that you could heal with parsley, or you could heal with onions or garlic, rather than go and have medics, you have just unfolded the matrix. So that's one box of the matrix coming undone. And again, this is what we keep saying to people. They're given a choice point, a pivotal point to make a choice. And you're there showing them, look at me, I've done it for this long without that. And I'm okay. It was tricky, but it's okay.
And I've realized that my body has its own intelligence and knows what to do, and that wellness is our natural state of being. It's just like if you take a part of the earth where maybe we've done strip mining, or we've done, remove the forest or whatever, you leave it alone, it heals, the planet heals. And I also believe you leave us alone and we heal. And a lot of people have forgotten that. I think it's actually sacred knowledge that we have the ability to heal, and it's amazing. It's just amazing. Anyway, yeah. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Not always sure why I'm saying things. It just comes up and comes out, and that's how it is. So it's been really lovely having you on the show, and I hope you'll come back again, because there's so many things we could be talking about. If you ever get the, urge to come back on the show, there's something specific you want to talk about or you want to share with the audience, you'd be more than welcome to come back. And before we say goodbye, I just want to give you another chance, because I know I keep interjecting. I'd like to give you another chance to say whatever you'd like to say to the audience.
Well, we say no randoms. There are no randoms. Everything that is happening for you right now is happening to speak with you. And sometimes it's other beings. Most of the time, it could just be your higher self, your oversoul. So allow space to see what your life is showing you right in front of you right now. When you walk off this show right now, right? There's no other present like the presents, and this is where the presents are. You cannot heal in the future, and you cannot heal in the past. They're no man's land. So come back to your presence. What's in front of me? What's on the land? Who are my neighbors? Who's in the house? What does the rooms look like? Everything there will be telling you your story. And the more that you can give it space and watch it and be the other witness of yourself, the more you can do that, the more it will unfold for you. And you'll realize, like you said, it's all in you. The intelligence is in you. You are heaven. You are the God. There's no God above you. It's you. And once you realize that, then the magic starts to begin. And it becomes that easier way of maneuvering through this dissolving of the matrix. And things will happen around you, but you just seem to move through with just ease and grace.
Yep, ease and grace.
Yeah,
we can do this. We've got it. We can do this.
We've got it.
Yeah,
we've got it.
Well, Elsa, thank you
for
so
having
much
me.
for being on Aliens and Angels, and I wish you the very, very best. And I'm just really excited that I've met you, and I feel like I've known you forever. It's wonderful. And yeah, just love you so much. And I love the audience too, all of those that are listening or watching this show. I wish you a wonderful week, a wonderful life, and I hope that we've somehow inspired you to take a chance, to take a risk on yourself, because you're worth it. And I love you so much. I'm just going to say bye-bye, everybody.